It's NFL player prop time, and we got 7 of them. Let's go! What's going on, everyone? Welcome back into another episode for Just a Bet Outside. I am your host, Steven, and you know it's time for those NFL player props. We crushed these last year. Hopefully, we can keep it going. We have the NFL Week 1 Best Bets video already out. If you have not checked it out, there's a $40 giveaway. There's best bets, there's research help, there's everything you need. So be sure to go check that video out before Week 1 starts. This is going to be awesome. I am excited for this video. Before we get into what we're doing, just want to let you guys know we will do a Sunday night video for a recap of Week 1 football, talk a little football, go over the bets and everything, and also preview that Monday night football game between the Jets and the Bills. That should be a great game. In this video, guys, we have some fun stuff to talk about, okay? First, we're going to give you the 3 best bets from OddsJam for Week 1. The guy couldn't come in. He wasn't feeling good, but he did give me the 3 best positive EV bets, and they are good ones. So, other than that, we are going to talk about teams that give up the most touchdowns to running backs and receivers, based on last year, of course. And then we're also going to talk about which defenses gave up the most fantasy points to running backs and receivers last year. Hopefully, that helps in your fantasy leagues. And this should help because I know you guys like to bet some anytime touchdowns. So I'm ready to get into it. And also, of course, we got the 4 player prop bets and then 3 anytime touchdown bets, including a plus 300. That is just juicy, baby. That's right. We are freaking close to 6,000 subscribers. Please hit subscribe if you're new to the channel. We are going to have a heck of a time during NFL season. Smash that like button. I want at least a few hundred likes. We got to get there, guys. We can do it. So, anyways, no more waiting. I'm just done with it. It's time to talk the OddsJam Week 1 best bets. All right, here we go. It's time to talk the 3 best bets for Week 1 with OddsJam. That's right, the positive EV, expected value, and these 3 bets have the most expected value out there. Here we go. The first one, Patriots plus 4. Oh, baby, if you watch that Wednesday video, you know I have a head-to-head bet with Ryan. That's part of that $40 giveaway, and I got the Patriots plus 4. I love that OddsJam is on my side there. Giants plus 3.5 on Sunday Night Football against the Cowboys, and then the Bucks plus 5.5. And as you know, I gave out on Wednesday night. Bucks plus 6 is actually a best bet. We just happen to be hand in hand with OddsJam. That's what it is. So if you guys want to get positive EV bets every week and Fantasy Optimizer and everything else that they have to offer, and it's crazy, guys, use the promo code JABO. You get 25% off. That's all I'm going to say. I've mentioned it a lot. If you're not on OddsJam, I don't know what to say. It is a really helpful website. And NFL season, NBA season's here. It's time, baby. That's right. So those are the 3 bets for that. And now let's talk some good touchdown matchups. All right, you know I can't do a video without giving you guys some help with your bets. And here we go. These are the most touchdowns given up to running backs in 2022 because that's all we have to go off of right now. Not a surprise to see the Houston Texans give up 22 touchdowns because they were absolutely horrendous against the run last year. Now, when you look at these teams, you kind of think to yourself, based on your own research, who you think is going to be getting better. In my opinion, the Bears will have a better run defense this year. They picked up some players, and I think they will improve. You saw on Thursday Night Football, the Detroit Lions looked a lot better. Pacheco and those boys couldn't get much going on the ground. This is just touchdowns, obviously, but having a good run defense overall does help. Other than that, you're probably going to see the Raiders up here again, the Indianapolis Colts, teams like that. I do expect a better defense from the Browns with their defensive coordinator. The Cardinals are just going to be awful. They're just going to be absolutely awful. There's going to be a ton of teams running on them, so there might be some running touchdowns in that fourth quarter. But yeah, those are the most touchdowns given up to running backs last year. Let's go check out the most touchdowns given up to wide receivers. And there it is. The Dallas Cowboys gave up the most touchdowns, 22 of them. And the Titans defense, we talked about it already in our Wednesday video. They gave up the most passing yards per game. So the 20 touchdowns is not a surprise, but they were absolutely destroyed by injuries on the defensive side, probably more than any other team. I expect them to be much, much better. They are already great against the run, and I expect their pass defense to improve as well. Chiefs, some of that could be because the Chiefs score a lot, and the other teams have to throw a lot and score some touchdowns just to keep up. Same kind of with the Bills. But the Bills had some injuries too, so I expect them to be a little better as long as they can stay healthy. And then Pittsburgh Steelers, 17 touchdowns. Guys, TJ Watt, I already talked about it in the Wednesday video also. 8-2 when he's on the field. He wreaks havoc all over the field, in the backfield. He makes a big difference. If they stay healthy, I think they have a pretty decent pass defense this year. Not the best, but decent. Other than that, Bucks are kind of a question mark to me. Falcons still probably won't be that good. The Eagles were also probably some of those touchdowns just because they were ahead by a lot, but they did have the best passing defense in the league last year. So they do have a good defense, but they did give up some touchdowns. So what this kind of tells you is maybe how these teams are in the red zone and how they play teams if they kind of force them to throw it or force them to run it and things like that. So hopefully that helps. Now, without any more waiting, it is time to talk some fantasy football. All right, you guys know I love some fantasy football. I have 4 leagues of my own, probably too many already. I got one with the Discord members starting this weekend. But I just want to give you guys some help with your fantasy football lineups because it doesn't hurt to have more help, that's for sure. And I wanted to give you guys some matchups for running backs and receivers and which defenses gave up the most fantasy points. It's not always the same as the most yards and the most touchdowns. It kind of puts it all together because obviously catches and things like that are a part of it. So let's start out with the most fantasy points given up to running backs. There it is, guys. Not a surprise. Houston Texans, 28.52 points to running backs. Now, obviously, this means, the backup running backs are getting some of these points, whether it's a blowout or just getting some carries to spell the number one running back. But there's some surprises in here a little bit. Seahawks gave up 24.5. Being a Seahawk fan, I know some of that is because they allow a lot of dump offs to running backs. My goodness, they just sit back in their freaking soft defense and let running backs catch the ball and get an easy 5 to 10 yards every time, it seems like. But yeah, I just thought this was good to know because the Dolphins weren't known as a terrible run defense, but they did give up 22.06 fantasy points per game to running backs last year. And we have a little bet in that game, actually, that has something to do with that. So we'll talk more about that later. But hopefully this helps you. These are the top 10 most points given up. Let's go check out the wide receivers now. There it is. The Tennessee Titans, also not a surprise, and neither is the Minnesota Vikings. Holy crap. Man, they were bad on pass defense last year, but 28.52 points to receivers. This does help you with your fantasy. It obviously doesn't tell you exactly which receiver will get the points, but it does help a little bit. Lions, I think, will improve this year, but you saw them. They played pretty decent against the Kelsey-less Chiefs team. And then also you got, San Francisco 49ers was kind of a surprise a little bit, but they did stop the run really well. So they were definitely better against the run. And the Tampa Bay Bucks will probably be bad again. Buffalo Bills, again, injuries, but I think they will improve. But hopefully this helps. Maybe next time, let me know. Leave a comment if you guys maybe want the least fantasy points given up so you know on the bad matchups too to kind of help with your lineups and all that. So that's the fantasy segment. But now it is time, and I can't freaking wait. Let's talk some player props. All right, there are a lot of NFL player props that I love for week one. I narrowed it down to my 4 favorite ones, and then we'll give out those 3 anytime touchdowns after this. So here we go. Bet number 1, Deshaun Massage Parlor Watson. That's right, over 23.5 rushing yards at minus 110. I like this bet, guys. He went over this in 4 of his last 6 games last season. And the 2 he didn't, he had 21 and 22. So he was right there. He's a quarterback, if you watched him play for Houston and a little bit last year for Cleveland, he just loves to use his legs. He does. He's not just someone who loves to just sit in the pocket. He can't help himself. He literally just gets out of the pocket a lot, and he likes to run. And I think he's going to do that quite a bit. I think he gets 30 plus, to be honest with you. But against Cincy last year, he had 6 attempts for 33 rushing yards, going over this by 10 yards, which was awesome. Like I said, he even did in the preseason. I watched his preseason game. He had 6 attempts, I think, in 2 preseason outings. And he ran for like 30 something yards or something like that. Like in the preseason, quarterbacks aren't supposed to do that. This guy likes to get out of the pocket. 23.5 rush yards is too low. If he gets any pressure, he's out and he's going to go get some running yards. So I like him to go over 23.5 rush yards as my first best bet. Let's move on to that second one. All right, this second one is a little different, and it's a bet that I like to do. You'll notice all season long. Here we go. Bet number 2, Joe Burrow over a half of an interception at plus 105. All he has to do is throw one freaking interception. I like Joe Burrow. Okay, this is not a hate on Burrow segment, but here we go, guys. I mentioned this in the Wednesday video. He did not do anything in the training camp in preseason. He did absolutely nothing due to an injury. He's going to try to just play week one without being prepared. Guess what? He did the same thing last season. I think it was like an appendicitis or something. He didn't do much. He came back, played week one, and threw 4 interceptions to the Steelers. It's just not good. You need preparation. All we need is one bad pass, okay? Now, he's played the Browns. The last 5 games, they were 1-4 against them. That doesn't really matter in this. I already talked about this Wednesday. But in those 5 games, he threw 5 interceptions. The Browns have his number. They have the Bengals' number. I don't think there's any way he doesn't throw one pick. And to have plus 105 as the value for one bad throw for a guy who hasn't played in how many months now? I mean, I just love this bet. So give me Burrow over half of an interception as my second best bet. Let's move on to bet number 3. All right, bet number 3 happens to be my favorite player prop of the entire weekend. Here we go. J.K. Dobbins of the Ravens over 60.5 rushing yards at minus 115. He is finally freaking healthy. I loved watching him play at the Ohio State University. That's right, those are my boys. Here we go. When he came back from injury to end the year last year, in those 4 games, he had a total of 397 total rushing yards. 4 games, 397. You can get the math. It's about 100 a game. He averaged, this is crazy, 6.96 yards per carry in those last 4 games. That is just absolutely crazy. He is now facing the NFL's worst run defense in like the last 100 years, the Houston Texans. We just talked about him on Wednesday, talked about him a little bit here. I don't understand why this number is so low. This guy is healthy for the first time. He is ready to roll. He is hungry. Um, Honestly, if the Texans are going to give 170 yards per game last year like they did, all we need is 61 out of J.K. Dobbins. I know Lamar's going to do it. I know they got a little bit different offense, but that's not going to matter. I mean, J.K. Dobbins will get a lot of carries, and the reason is because they should be up by a lot also in the fourth quarter, and he's going to get even more carries. So I think sprinkling a little bit on 75 or maybe even 100 plus yards, that was at plus 500. Again, a little sprinkle. Okay, it's not going to be easy to get 100 plus, but I wouldn't mind it. That's for sure. But I'm putting a full unit on this one. I love J.K. Dobbins over 60.5 rush yards at minus 115. Let's move on to our fourth player prop. All right, my fourth player prop. We're going to LA, baby. It is Austin Eckler over 31.5 receiving yards at minus 114. Again, this number's too low. I just love the 31.5. So let's talk about Mr. Eckler. He went over this in 12 of his 17 games last season. He actually had 39 or more receiving yards in 10 of his 17. We only need 32. Now, overall in the season, 107 catches. That is wild. For 722 yards receiving. He faced Miami last season also. How about 8 catches for 59 receiving yards? Again, we only need 32. Eckler is the man. He gets dump off after dump off, and he knows what to do with it. I also don't mind his receptions. I think it was at 4.5 to go over, but I like 31.5 receiving yards a lot better. Here's Miami's defense now. We talked about this earlier. They gave up the ninth most fantasy points to running backs. Part of that reason is because they gave up a lot of catches. They gave up 93 catches for 700 receiving yards to running backs last year. That was the 7th worst in the NFL last year. And like I said, he already did well, almost 60 yards receiving against Miami last year. I just don't understand how Eckler's number is not around 36, 37. It just doesn't make sense to me. So give me Eckler over 31.5 receiving yards at minus 114 as my fourth and final player prop bet. And now, let's talk some touchdowns. All right, I love betting some anytime touchdown bets, and I got 3 juicy ones for you. And we are going to start out with Mr. Seattle Seahawks, Tyler Pop Lockett. Drop it. That's right, baby. Anytime TD at plus 165 on FanDuel. These are great odds, guys. And these anytime touchdowns, this is why using OddsJam really helps because you can see odds across all different sports books. I saw a lot of discrepancy between between DraftKings and FanDuel. So I would make sure to check out any books that you have availability and find the best odds. So here we go. Tyler Lockett, he is as good as it gets, guys, for the Seahawks. He is super underrated. He continues to put up big seasons. Last year, he had 9 touchdowns. That's right, 9. He played the Rams twice last year. He had a touchdown in each of those games. This Rams secondary and defense is just going to struggle this year, honestly. In the 2 games last year, by the way, other than just scoring a touchdown, he had 9 catches for 128 on 12 targets and 4 catches for 54 on 7 targets. Guys, he's going to get a lot of targets. We're going to score some touchdowns. That's right. This is not a bias pick. I don't do that. This is Tyler Lockett to get a touchdown because, like I said, he had 9 last year. He is a touchdown machine. Geno and him have a good connection. I love the value at plus 165. DK Metcalf, I think, was plus 125. I think Lockett has just as good of a chance as DK to score a touchdown, so I would gladly take the plus 165. I know they have Jackson Smith and Jigba now, the stud rookie receiver. I don't think week 1 he's just going to come in and just just absolutely dominate, especially with Lockett and DK in front of him. But he will be a stud receiver, that's for sure. So give me Tyler Lockett, anytime touchdowns, my first one. Let's go to that second touchdown bet. It is now time for the biggest long shot on the board. Here we go. Jawan Johnson, the tight end, to score a touchdown at plus 300 on FanDuel. He is on the Saints, by the way, in case you don't know that. He led the team with 7 touchdowns last year. You probably didn't even know that. He had the third most touchdowns by a tight end in the NFL. Again, nobody talks about him. He even went, this is crazy. He even went to a tight end camp that was run by Travis Kelce, George Kittle, and the ex tight end Greg Olson, because he's moving from wide receiver to tight end. So he's still learning. He's getting better. I love to see that in a guy. You know what I'm saying? When you're betting on a guy, you want to know his head's in the game. And now he gets Derek Carr as his quarterback, probably the best quarterback he's had. Derek Carr, we know he likes tight ends. What did he do with the Raiders with Darren Waller? Let me tell you, 2019 and 2020, 2 years total. Darren Waller, 197 catches with 12 touchdowns. Derek Carr likes his tight ends. Jawan Johnson can score touchdowns. Plus 300. I will gladly take that value as my second best anytime touchdown bet. Let's move on to that final one. All right, my seventh and final bet of this video is the man that I am all aboard the hype train for. It is Bijan Robinson. That's right, Bed Bath and Bijan, Bijan Mustard, whatever you freaking want to call him. He is a stud, and I hope he doesn't let me down because I got him in almost every fantasy league. So here we go. I'm taking him to get a touchdown at plus 100. I got that on DraftKings. I looked over on FanDuel. It was minus 135, guys. That's why you got to check different books, just like I mentioned, and OddsJam can help you with that. So here we go. Bijan is the man. Bijan is the man. He's physical. He's fast. He had 18 touchdowns last year in college. I know it's college, but I'm just saying he's a stud. We've all heard about him. He's their guy. They didn't draft him in the first round for him to just come out and get 8 carries. He is going to be their guy. He's going to be their goal line back. It's not going to be Algier, that's for sure. And he won't be plus 100 for a long time, guys. Honestly, he's going to get some touchdowns. He's going to show himself as one of the best running backs in the league. By midway through the season, you're going to be seeing minus 130, minus 140 numbers probably. Maybe not Nick Chubb minus 150 type numbers, but I think plus 100, you're not going to get this for very long. So he's playing against the Panthers. They gave up 15 total touchdowns to running backs last year, which is pretty much average, right in the middle of the league. So it's not like an extremely tough matchup. I think Ritter and this Falcons team are going to ride Bijan Robinson. He's going to get his first NFL touchdown in week 1. That's what I got for you today. Let's go check out that bets recap page. All right, there it is, guys. Deshaun Watson over 23.5 rushing yards. Then we got Joe Burrow, just needs to throw 1 interception. J.K. Dobbins over 60.5 rush yards, probably my favorite player prop of the day. And then we ended with Austin Eckler over 31.5 receiving yards at minus 114. And then the touchdown bets, guys, we hit 2 of those 3. We are looking pretty, all plus money. Tyler Lockett touchdown plus 165. Jawan Johnson touchdown. That is the tight end, by the way. Plus 300 on FanDuel. And Bijan Mustard Robinson plus 100, baby. That's right. I am excited. Man, I love some NFL player props if you can't tell. Leave a comment below, guys. Let me know your favorite NFL player prop. If you have any questions, if you want to talk fantasy football, you want to talk just anything you want to talk about, I am ready to talk some football because baseball is a freaking shit show right now. It is all over the place, but I am excited for playoff baseball. Again, go check out that week 1 video that we released late Wednesday night for the NFL with our best bets, research help, and everything else. So thank you guys for all the support. We are so close to 6,000 subscribers. It's all because of you guys. Hope everyone enjoys NFL Week 1, and we'll see you guys Sunday night.